Again, my name is Richard Velasic, a worship associate. I have 6 minutes. I beg for forgiveness in advance if I have moments of being disorganized. It was perhaps unwise of me to say I would speak today, being right in the hot midst of moving. So you are all at risk of being bored by me, because pretty much any gambit foxtrots on down to my joys and concerns about downsizing, how much bloody hard work it is, and then we sashay on over to my growing list of aches and pains, like that ancient mariner holding on to thee by my glittering eye, but having a much less fantastic tale to tell. For me, the hardest category of things to let go of is books. Some I've carried with me for 60 years or more. When I came to my James Thurber collection, I had to take a pause. Now, I know I have a delusional expectation that all of you will start smiling and chuckling as you recall the times you've spent being entertained by Mr. Thurber. The smarter part of me knows there's no good reason any of you should know anything about James Thurber, though he was the most popular cartoonist and humorist of his day. That day was a long time ago, well before my time even. Now, as I paused with these books, I thought about The Night the Bed Fell, I start laughing, and Walter Mitty. Remembering his cartoons, I was impressed again how much he could convey in a gesture, often best taken in at a glance. Thurber was a master of conveying attitude with precise economy while looking like it was just dashed off. What is an attitude? It's something your body does. The word's most immediate synonym is posture. And attitude is how your body is positioned in relation to somebody or something else. An attitude is an arrangement of your body. It's a negotiation with your surround, like an aura, interactive. So let's find some of these cartoons that surround as part of the posture. Surround is as part of your posture. As you penetrate it, it penetrates you. It postures back at you. Are you your attitude? Is there in gesture, your coloring, your tonal inflection, your pheromones, etc., plus 97% more that we have not a clue about? The first law of communication is that you can't not communicate. It's an impossibility. Like a god, even your absence is communicating who you are. So come stroll with me a little, looking at a little selection from what I call the Thurber Tarot card deck, and see what we notice. We'll rush through some of these because some of the information is best taken in at a glance, but I want to stop for a moment at this one. It says, "You're not my patient, you're my meat, Mrs. Quist." And notice the good doctor has to stand up on a chair so he can tower over her. Look at his attitude. And poor Mrs. Quist, what does she want to do? She wants out from under that stare. The line of the attitude is fascinating there. Change, please. Thank you, Blake. So we're just going to go quickly through this. Who are you today? Ronald Colman. Anyone know who Ronald Colman was? You know, he was an actor. old boomers know. Move on. But wait. Stop here. Go back. Notice. No, never mind. We'll go on. Just okay. Notice the picture on the wall. It's all askew. The lamp tilted. The whole environment is moving with his posture. Okay, move on. just a little, I'm just a little boy system. He calls it a system. So there's a little boy. And look at the attitudes of both of them. Move on. The I'm drinking myself to death and nobody can stop me method. Move on. The sweep them off their feet. Move on. The strong silence system. You all know some of these folk, don't you? Move on. The heroic or dangers I have known method, dramatic, move on. Oh, again, remember the lamppost. See how the lamppost, the lamp is tilting with him. The environment is taking on the attitude. You'll never see me again, move on. The strange fascination technique, move on. Of course, he's terribly nervous, but I'm sure he meant it as a pass. Right, move on. Oh, we're going to pause here a moment. Well, I'm disenchanted too. We're all disenchanted. Look at that. Over time. The doll's disenchanted. The ball is disenchanted. Nobody's playing with them anymore. The dog is disenchanted. Look at the postures and how that attitude of disenchantment is expressed. Move on. And the ultimate of the person merging with the environment, being one with the environment, I just call this, woman and house. And move on. And the other side of that, the attitude of attachment, indifference. She's pissed, angry. He's floating above it all in the treetops. And hold just there for a moment. So are you your attitude, I asked? Does your attitude keep you from knowing who you are? What happens if I'm misunderstood, mistranslated, a hermeneutic casualty? But the main thing that's misunderstood about an attitude, it's an interaction you're having, a conversation you were having with something other, something not you. It's the space between the notes. Attitude is reciprocal aboutness. I'm about you, you're about me. As you inhabit the other, whether human, rabbit, stone, that object at the same time, pressing into you, inhabiting you, but we have learned how to erect a barricade of language to keep so much of the world at bay. And yes, the final card of this tarot deck of the higher arcana is named Destinations. Busy attitudes they all have, rushing to their goals, their objectives, what they want to get, all ending up in the same place. Now you get to decide what mattering of you will remain ongoing.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Scarvey. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I first became aware of Sister Miriam Teresa Mcgillis in the winter of 1997. Shortly after my beloved Karen and I met. It was early in our courtship, and we were sitting side by side on the sofa. She looked at me as she took my hand. Her eyes met mine, and she said, "I want to play a cassette for you. It's called The Fate of the Earth by Sister Miriam Mcgillis. She is a Dominican nun. Her ideas are very important to me." Karen isn't shy when it comes to revealing herself. I am smitten, so I agree to listen. The talk begins. Sister Miriam describes the critical state in which the fate of the earth is now unfolding as not a kind of moral failure, a lack of religion, or a product of greed, selfishness, or inherently destructive human nature. Instead, she suggests that our crisis is a crisis of cosmology. She says at this point in time, we find ourselves in a crisis that has to do with our origin story. Sister Miriam has my attention. She says that the origin stories of Western cultures teach that the divine lives outside the universe and is greater than and different from it. Their stories teach that humanity is intrinsically connected with the divine, but the world is purely material, with no inherent spiritual dimension. In these origin stories, the universe is an object, not a subject. Sister Miriam says, we are just beginning to understand its true story. We're just beginning to grapple with a universe that has a 15 billion year history. She continues, so if we were to look at the 15 billion year process from the beginning until now, we'd see the universe began with hydrogen. And out of the unfolding of helium and hydrogen came carbon. And I say, stop! She doesn't know her periodic table. Hydrogen, helium, carbon. What about lithium, beryllium, and boron in between? For me, listening any farther was impossible, incredible. As for Karen, I was a rude, smart-ass biology major. The listening was over. The fragile rowboat of our relationship was in heavy seas. We made it through, though. Karen and I got married. We are now in our 25th year. The fate of the earth went unmentioned, gathering dust in our record files until one day, while looking for something else, I stumbled across that cassette again. This time, I decided to play the whole thing. I listened carefully. I paid attention and opened myself wholeheartedly to the new origin story. It was life-changing. Sister Miriam is a visionary and an artist. She established Genesis Farm, an Earth Literacy Learning Center in Blairstown, New Jersey. She remains an inspiration for both Karen and me. Over the years, Karen has visited the farm with her grandchildren more than once. I attended a 16-day immersion workshop there, led by an astrophysicist in the morning, and practical arts like skills to process and save heirloom seeds with Sister Miriam in the afternoon. There's still a small sore spot with Karen over my cavalier attitude that day, long ago. She brings it up at the damnedest times. She's entitled to it, though. I first became aware of Dr. David Corton at about the same time as I did Sister Miriam. Karen has an extensive library covering a broad spectrum of subjects: French, economics, child development, politics. You'll probably find it on her bookshelves. We were in her home office, and she was guiding me through the shelves. She pulled a book, When Corporations Rule the World, by David C. Corton, and she handed it to me. You should read this. I knew nothing about him. The book looked a bit dry for my taste, so I put it back with a casual, maybe later. Well, We moved on. I never read the book. A few months later, we attended the annual San Francisco Green Festival. As we entered the exhibit hall, trying to get through the traffic jam at the door, Karen tapped the man next to me on his shoulder. "Are you David Corton?" she asked. "Yes," he smiled. "I've read your books," she said. "I love them." His smile broadened. He said, "Give me your address. Here's my card. If you are ever near Bainbridge Island, give me a call." Well, we did move to Bainbridge Island shortly after that, and he was our next door neighbor. In fact, he was the first person to bring us a housewarming gift. Not long after that, we received a copy of David's new book, The Great Turning from Empire to Earth Community. I read this one. I have never been so alarmed and inspired. As I turned the pages describing the state of the planet in my grandchildren's future, I saw their faces in front of me. I knew I had to do something. I wrote a sermon entitled, "We Are the Ones We Have Been Waiting For." I developed a traveling ministry called Earth Community Ministries and offered to bring the sermon and a companion workshop to all UU churches in the Pacific Northwest. In the years before moving here, I confirmed 24 preaching dates, including here in Puna, Kona, and in this very church in 2008. And I want to thank Reverend Mike for inviting me. So, a cassette entitled The Fate of the Earth solidified my personal credo, and a book, The Great Turning, provided me with a platform. Not bad for a guy with a bad attitude.
Good morning. My name is Miriam. I'm another proud member of this liberal congregation. In psychology, attitude is a psychological construct, a mental and emotional entity that characterizes a person. Attitudes are complex and brought about by life experiences. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. During my lifetime, I've had much taken away, withheld, or lost. And when I think about an attitude of gratitude, sometimes I have mixed feelings. But one thing I know for sure is that I am grateful for the joys in my life. One, I live in Hawaii. And at my home, I have a spectacular $1 million view. In 19 years, it has never gotten old. Every morning, I get up and it grounds me and delights me. Also, to name a very important attitude of gratitude is my friends. I'm so fortunate to have the best. Some sister friends who I've known since we were 13 years old, 64 years ago. My local sister friends are the best, supportive, funny, caring women. My living and traveling all over the world came from a major change of attitude, from crying through a painful divorce to deciding one day I could do anything I wanted with that freedom. What an amazing choice to make in my late 40s to get a master's degree and to become an international school teacher, live abroad, and travel all over the world. The best time in my life. Change of attitude. It's important to generate a good attitude, a good heart, as much as possible. From this, happiness is both the short term and the long term for both yourself and others will come. In 2006 and 2009, I adopted 2 pets, my beloved cat Lily and dog Leia. What were to become just my companions and well-loved pets, so I thought, turned into 12 years of a delightful adventure. Both of them, being therapy animals, brought so much joy to so many patients and students. Both of them doing modeling for a couple of years was a real hoot. And as some of you watched Lily become a TV star and Leia surely the star of Manoa Valley Theater Stage, who would have ever thought that could happen? Being their chauffeur, their caretaker, their chef, and their agent has been quite an adventure filled with so much joy for me, for them, and for the many, many people they've delighted. As many have found that when you give of yourself, you get so much more in return. I love what we do because I get to feel joy and have fun. All we have to do is show up. I think it's in your mental attitude. So many of us start dreading age in high school, and that's a waste of a lovely life. Oh, I'm 30. Oh, I'm 40. Oh, I'm 50. Nope, make the most of it. When I dwell on my age, I find I can get afraid. I can be depressed. I can be delighted. So many feelings about being in my 70s. It isn't what I thought it would be. When I was half my age, I don't feel like an old lady. Well, sometimes I physically feel like one, but then I laugh. My friends are 10 years older, 10 years younger than me. Attitude is even funny about that. If you're 30, 20 seems young and 40 seems old. But just wait, those of you who are young, when you're 75, people who are 65 to 85 can feel pretty much the same as you. Not exactly sure how that works, but I think it has something to do with attitude. To think in terms of either pessimism or optimism oversimplifies the truth. The problem is to see reality as it is. A pessimistic attitude can never create calm. Last Monday, I was at a grocery store. I was called forward by a cashier. Her light wasn't on, and she made a comment about it, and I made a light comment back. She came back to me with, "I'm not tricking anyone. It's broken. I wish they'd fix it." Later, few minutes later, she told the woman behind me not to put her stuff down on the counter until she was told to do so. Both of these were with attitude. I thought about it and again realized it was not what she said, it was her attitude. It changes everything, doesn't it? She could have come back at me with a quip or a laugh. She could have explained pleasantly to the person behind me. Rather than being annoyed with her, I decided maybe she was having a rough day, to just let it go and smile. I left feeling okay and on to the next thing, eating the delicious chicken curry salad that was in my bag. A person can change their future by merely changing their attitude. My plan is to continue to have attitude adjustments as needed in the future. Of course, there will be sadness and grieving with tears, annoyance and judgment with angst, and other negative feelings and thoughts. That's part of being human. To make choices and changes is sometimes tricky, and it's possible. It leaves the door open for optimism and more happiness, to keep an attitude of gratitude even when I have issues and drama. That's the goal for the future, whatever it may bring.